Okay, I'm going to tell you what, we've got a hungry group, We got a group that's got something to prove. When you really take a good look at things, this is the most experienced group that we've had. I think as a coach, as an organization, we want to try to build a veteran team. And I would say that we have that. I think we've got young men who are credible, that have a voice. I think the leadership on this team is the best it's been. There's character, there's accountability. We've got a group that's living life the right way. Their actions match up with their words, right? And I think we've got the right combination of veteran leadership and young talent. It's the best February that we've had since we've been here, right? So a ton of momentum headed in today, and I think we saw that a little bit today. Good day, good first day. It's good to be back practicing football. So overall, what I would say is I'm impressed with the leadership and accountability. Got a good group of veterans and very talented group of rookies. What questions we got?
What advantages does Graham have? Last year, I think he's probably still learning names of his receivers and plays. Just how can him being in his second year just help from a practice and moving standpoint?
Well, the first thing I would say is that he has the respect of the entire organization and the respect of his teammates. I think over time, his example, not only through his work ethic, but I think as a competitor, right? The toughness, the way he prepares, the way he treats people, not just his teammates, but I would say all throughout the building, right? He's a consummate pro. And I think the quarterback sets the standard for the entire team and organization, and he's done that. So him being back is a huge deal, not only for him personally and our team, but also for DJ as well. So I think just in general, his leadership, his voice, the guy's, it's a big deal for the Florida Gators that Graham Mertz is back to play quarterback. So a ton of advantages, and I think confidence, there's a ton of confidence there.
You spoke to Graham about DJ coming in. He seemed almost excited about the opportunity to kind of mentor DJ and help him acclimate. What have you seen just those two interacting?
Well, first of all, they both have character. They both have awareness and perspective. I think they can see the big picture. There's no ego there. There's a certain confidence and humility that both guys have, right? So I think there's an understanding of their role, So they've embraced that, right? And they've worked alongside each other. I think Graham's on a mission, came back with a purpose, not only to increase his value personally, but for our team to accomplish more. And then certainly DJ being a young player, being a rookie, there's a ton to learn there. So the advantage of DJ being able to observe Graham, and then certainly Graham's embraced that mentorship and done a phenomenal job so far.
Your defensive staff has had basically a new facelift. Would you talk about how the personalities have meshed together and the chemistry that's there and getting everybody on the same page?
Yeah, I think first of all, Will with the defensive backs and Gerald with the front. I think you've got two personalities that rub off on the group. There's some urgency there. I do think they're both phenomenal teachers. I think they've got high expectations for their players. So I think we've seen improvement there. I think that we also benefit from the experience of those groups. A lot of returning players in both those rooms. And then I would say Ron Roberts, big picture, it's originally his system, right? So there's a ton of familiarity there, So Ron was with me for 2 years, and then, I think he's 4 years removed, right? So it's good to have him back. So I think he's got some familiarity with how we operate. And we had a good February, the things that we did from a football standpoint. And he and Austin's working relationship there, the mutual respect, I think that's been healthy for us.
What is the dynamic between the two of them? How are they kind of dividing things up in practices and going about that?
Yeah, I think essentially you're getting, Ron's been a head coach for a number of years. He's been a coordinator for a number of years. Austin was his graduate assistant, the first interaction they had. And then obviously Austin took his system and put his spin on it. And I just think those guys, they have communicated with each other since they departed, right? I mean, they're having weekly conversations for the last few years. So I think ultimately, they're working together to build the installations, to build the scripts. Austin's running the unit meetings, and Ron's doing a good job of creating clarity for the coaches and really helping us to improve the fundamentals.
Is Will working with the entire defensive back unit, and Austin's kind of roving around? Is that set up there?
Correct.
Billy, what was your a view of DJ Lagway today? What do you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I see a kid who loves to play, and he's fun to coach. He's got unique ability. I think the size, the athleticism, the arm talent. But probably the best thing about him is just the work ethic, the desire to learn, the perspective and understanding and awareness that he knows he's got a lot of work to do to get better, but finally to see him in a football setting, to just let him go play. So, just to see him smiling and having a good time. I think he loves the game, and that was very apparent out there today.
I think there's a lot of curiosity about the offensive line. I mean, will there be any reshuffling in terms of positions, or how do you view that going into the season?
Yeah, first of all, I think we've added some really good pieces, and we have some experience coming back. Really pleased with Jake Slaughter. I think his leadership, his example, very mature. I think he's established in that room kind of his expectation. His personality's rubbing off on the room. Austin is very much the same. I think Austin obviously is not able to participate coming back from the surgery. So, we've been able to move Damian inside, which I think is benefiting us and him. Najee Harris got critical experience last year, so he's been making great progress. And then the tackle pieces, I think that's allowed us to move Bryce Lovin inside. Cam Waits has had a great offseason, I think, proving that he could play tackle. We know he could play guard. Crenshaw Dixon, Devin Manuel, Fletcher Westfall, Rod Kearney's had a phenomenal offseason, added a ton of lean mass. So it's by far the best and deepest group we've had. I think offensive line is typically hard to say until we put the pads on. But that group's bodies are changing. I think they've had a really good offseason. So very pleased with that group so far.
With 4 sets of total training camps behind you and systems in place at this point, broadly speaking, what are some of the landmarks that you would like to see the team hit this spring?
Yeah, I think we're just consumed with the work. I think we're consumed with the improvement. And I think ultimately we're teaching concepts. We're teaching situations, field zones, D&Ds. We've got a group of veteran players that need to continue to develop and try to play the best football of their career. And then we've got a group of rookies that we need to get in position to where they can impact our team. I think it's all about improvement. I think each individual player, each position group, each unit, they're all in different places when it comes to that. So ultimately, as cliche as it sounds, it's truly one day at a time, and we're trying to get better.
Russ Callaway's got a new role since we talked to you last. What went into that, and what does that mean practically?
Yeah, I think Russ did a great job when we promoted Russ and put him on the field. Myself and a lot of my close confidence, we always felt strongly about Russ. He did a great job for our defense the first year. I've been around Russ in the past when we were at Alabama together, and he's had success since then coaching at Samford, LSU, in the National Football League. And then last year, to kind of observe him in some of his responsibilities, I thought he did a great job, not only preparing for meetings with me, but also his interactions with the players, right? So I think he's got good understanding. It's evident that he's a coach's son. And, he's a leader, and I think he's done a good job in his role so far.
Can you just take us through Craig Fitzgerald's decision and how you ended up replacing him in-house?
Yeah. No, first of all, Fitz did a great job for us, man. I mean, he gave us 5 weeks of really great work, established some things. Ton of respect for Fitz as a man and as a coach. You know, I think unique dynamic there. One of your best friends gets the head gig there at BC, and, 10 years with the guy. So I get it. I think we were fortunate that we had built our staff in a way where there was collaboration. And Coach Miles had done a phenomenal job with the programming part. Really, he and the rest of the staff giving Fitz insight into maybe where we were at as a program and what we needed, right? So Tyler Miles was at the core of everything that we were doing. And I think our players knew that, and our staff knew that. So we didn't want to blow it up and start over. But more importantly, we felt confident in Tyler relative to being able to do the job. He was essentially a huge part of what we were doing. So Tyler's got a strength conditioning background. He was in a performance science role. So we promoted him, and then we've been able to surround him with really good people. So go ahead.
How much did Tyler's history with Fitz help as well, the year they spent together at Tennessee?
Yeah, no, I think that was a big part of Fitz being here. Tyler was a big resource when we were making kind of the decision in which direction we were going to go. So he knew Fitz, was familiar with Fitz. And then his insight into where we were at as a program, what needed to change, I think that was beneficial. So I think when your players have confidence in a person and the methods in a system, when I've got a dozen players in my room and they've got conviction, about a coach and about what they've observed from a leader, ultimately that's what gave me confidence. And I think our staff felt the same way. So Tyler's been phenomenal since the first day he's been here.
You've had 2 years in which the defense has underperformed. Dressed all 3 layers with transfers, for example, et cetera, like that. Do you see the potential for drastic improvement there? Because it's going to, that's been the biggest area that you've had problems.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think a lot of the decisions that we made in the offseason were, a good look in the mirror. I think we've got to play. We all understand if you're going to play the brand of ball that we play, which I would say is complementary football, you got to be good on defense, right? So, we've made changes on the staff, and certainly we've added some really good pieces. Now, we also return a ton of production at all 3 levels as well. So I think it's a combination of experience, some new leadership, some new voices there, and then I think a little bit better detail, discipline, accountability. And I think we've got players that are taking ownership. So I'm hopeful some of the new pieces will work, but also got confidence in the leadership change and some of the philosophies there.
Can you talk about where Justice is at in his rehab process and what you expect to see from him this season?
Yeah, Boone is Justice Boone is one of my favorite players I've ever coached. Made a ton of progress on the field as a player, but more importantly as a person. He's probably one of the realest young men that we have. He's transparent. He holds people accountable. He speaks the truth. And I think his growth as a person and as a leader has affected our team. Even though he didn't play last year, I think he's been impactful. So I'm hopeful, his return to play will continue to be on process, and he'll have a chance to affect our team not only off the field, but on the field as well.
Back to TJ, there's been so much focus on him coming in and what he might do for this program.
Yeah.
And tell people, because I think, well, we have packages for him, then as soon as he's ready to go out there. What would you tell fans about the hype surrounding him? What is the realistic expectation?
Yeah. I think part of our job as a staff, my job as a head coach, is to kind of help manage those expectations for him. He's still a young person. That was his first college football practice, So I think the big thing to understand is just to kind of help keep him grounded, keep him focused on improvement. It's a process. You know, one of the things I appreciate about him is the values, the way he was raised. He's grounded, you know, and I think he's done a good job of handling some of the hype and expectations. He's stayed focused on the things that are important, you know, so we need to help him do that. We all understand that he is talented, that he's had significant accomplishments, you know, and we're excited that he's here. So I think the big thing is we've got work to do between now and when we do play, right? And he's got to earn his role on the team just like every other player. So the good thing is that we've observed him for, 10 weeks, and he's been phenomenal. The detail, the discipline, the work ethic. And he'd be the first to tell you it hadn't been easy, So he's earning respect one day at a time, and I think ultimately that's what it's about.
Time for a few more, guys.
Has your approach to spring ball changed at all, just based on the lessons and what you picked up in the first two and just throughout your first 2 years here?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would say that, a lot has changed. I mean, I think the workflow, how to help manage the time for your staff. I think it's every part of the offseason, every part of our football process, and every part of our evaluation and recruitment process. I think people underestimate the crossover between evaluation and recruitment and football. And I think the major difference is in our game, it's been unbelievable change in the last 2 years in terms of evaluating players, how you acquire players, the level of attrition that you have each year. So I think phase 2 for us was significantly different this year because of that. So I would say we've adjusted every part of all that we do since we've been here because of that, the pace of the evaluation and recruitment, due to NIL, due to the portal.
How much time of your day is spent with NIL in the portal?
Well, it depends on what time of year. I think like I evaluated players I was up here till 9 o'clock last night watching receivers, right? So, I think we have kind of quotas or deadlines that we're trying to hit, and I think ultimately for me, I got finished up yesterday with some of the work that I had left to do, right? So every part of the building, I think from an evaluation and recruitment standpoint is a little bit different because of that.
You guys, we'll finish with Jacob Bruner here.
How much has the front office set up that you guys were able to put together this offseason? And you mentioned taking some stuff off your plate and being able to kind of mix around responsibilities. How much has that helped you?
Yeah, it's helped in a huge way. Mark Robinson's been outstanding. Just that direct line of communication with Florida Victorious, our current players, their parents, their representation. It's a new world. We're living in a new world. So it's definitely helped me. And I would tell you that for the first time, I think all of our systems are built. I think we quite a bit of change over the last couple of years. So the first offseason where you're not, building a system right in the middle of it. So it's been great. It's been really good.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank y'all.